In my book, Game of Throws, I tried to cover some sensitive things that had affected me all the way through my career, and not just physically but mentally, how they affected me and my life, and how I adjusted them to help me get through my everyday life. And I think that a lot of athletes kind of suffer that. You know, they are this person, this special person that competes, has everything controlled for them, and then all of a sudden they're in control of their own destiny. You know, they are normal and they have to adapt to everyday life. And that was very difficult for me, and especially having trained so much every day, and a lot of judo, not just in the gym for an hour. It was doing so much in judo terms, you know, camps and training for events and different things like that. And I never realized how much that was a part of my life. And I think that all of a sudden, when you've got to suddenly change that, and you're not getting the invitation to go abroad, and you're not getting the invitation to go into competition, and your training partner doesn't phone you because he doesn't need you. He's somewhere else. He's still competing, or she's still competing. And I found that really difficult. So all of a sudden my life changed. And I think that for a while, it definitely took a downward spiral. And I found it difficult to adapt. I had to get a job, and I had to adapt my job to my everyday life, and my everyday life to my job. And I found that really hard. And I think that as I went further and further away from competition, so like for a 10-year period, I was still able to do it, and I was still able to really fight on a one-off against some of the best people in the world. And I felt great up to 40. I'd say 40 was a really key point. And then I started to notice that bits started to fall off. You know, my hips started to suffer a little bit, my knees and things like that. And so I veered away from the judo side, and certainly it was difficult for me then to go into a practice or into a situation where there might be a practice at the end of it, just in case people still wanted to have a go at the title. They wanted to have a go at me, and they wanted to prove, even though I was over 40, that they could still throw somebody who was a former world champion, Olympic medalist or whatever. And, you know, so I used to fear that, not because I feared them, but I used to fear it because I thought, well, I don't want to get hurt. And it kind of drifted further and further away from me. And it was very difficult for me to ever walk into a dojo and have a normal practice, what you would call a normal practice. And a normal practice for you is you turn up, you rock up. If you got thrown, you got thrown, and so on and so forth. But for me, it wasn't like that. I was always in a practice to dominate the practice, and I liked, you know, to lead the way. I liked to be in control. And if I wasn't in control, then I needed to be able to fall. And of course, the older I got, then the more difficult it was for me to take a fall. And I think that that's what happens, isn't it? You get to 40 years of age, yeah? And that's why we get the old stiff arms there. And, you know, everybody goes out there and you start to go, big arms out there, I'm not going over. And I think that that gets worse as you get older. So it was a revelation for me, because I got to a stage in my life where I was in the gym and I was doing a workout, and I'm doing my cardio, and I'm doing my weights and stuff like that. And Niki said to me, she said, you're just getting stale, and you need something to revitalize, not only from a physical point of view, but from a mental point of view. And she said, what I'm going to do, she said, I'm going to contact Isaac. And Isaac, who is, Isaac had worked with me, you know, as my uke for a lot of my work that I do, you know, for my ultimate studies and whatever stuff that I did online. Isaac would be there, perfect uke. and she said, I'm going to get Isaac to do some randori with you. I went, no. It's not that I'm afraid, but I was afraid. I was afraid I was going to get injured and afraid that it was going to go right, either from my angle, stiff arms, and I'm just going to like counter him whenever I can. And I was afraid of the situation that we might have where we're locked into each other and both got something to prove. She arranged it that I came into the dojo with Isaac, and I was afraid. I was really nervous about it. And we started to do some light randori. So we had a talk to each other, and we said, look, we've got nothing to prove. It's behind closed doors. And, if I get thrown, I get thrown. If he gets thrown, he gets thrown by an old man. But no, not really, but both of us had to kind of release this pressure in our minds that it was a contest in any possible way. It wasn't. So we started off 2-minute randoris, and we were give and take, and we finished it. I was breathing through my backside. I mean, it was really, there's no substitute for randori, is there? I mean, when it comes to judo fitness, there's no substitute for it. You can train 2 hours in the gym, you can do all your weight training, no substitute. Couldn't do 3 lots of 2 minutes, so we started to build it up, and we were getting more and more into it, and he was give and take, I was give and take, and we both came out of it beaming. I mean, I came out of that randori practice, my face was lit up, all right, so not from just a physical point of view, but from a mental point of view, it gave me so much. And I started to discover that I could still do it. And even at my age, I could coordinate techniques. After 3-4 weeks, I was starting to coordinate. Some of the combinations that I used before were starting to come back. Some of the things that I'd forgotten were starting to come back. I was starting to remember certain gripping strategies that I used to use. And as far as he was concerned, Isaac was concerned, he was starting to grip better and better, which made my job more and more difficult. I was having to think that I've got to do this in order to combat that. My level was going up, his level was going up, and now we're doing 8 lots of 4 minutes, no problem, and I'm able to help him, he's able to help me. I'm so stiff at the end of it, but not as stiff as I was when we began. But my mental state and my physical state, as well as Isaac's mental and physical state, are through the roof. And I mean that, it's not just physical. Although we're able to cope with the load more, we're doing newaza as well. His newaza's come on, and my newaza, I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to do it because I can't bend my legs because of my hips as I used to, but I've kind of compromised, and I use other things, and so it's just, it's a learning process all over again. It's a learning process, it's mental, physical therapy, and it's something that we both come out of the dojo just beaming. No pressure. He catches me, I catch him. I catch him. No. We catch each other equally. And you know what? It's a therapeutic randori that is part and parcel of the development of me, really, because I never realized how much I missed it. I never realized how important it was to me. I thought I'd lost it forever, but I haven't. And you know what? You go in there, and I can go in now realizing, the first randori went in, I came out, all my face was blooded, and my skin was so soft. And now I'm starting to harden up to it. He belts me in the mouth, and we get bruises, and we just kind of, that's all part of the process. We love it. We're getting so much out of it. Never give up on what you believe in. And once you've worked it out with your opponent or your partner as to what you need and what you require out of it, you can get so much out of it. You can take the pressure off a little bit. I used to do with my students 60% randori. Sometimes I do it to take the pressure off. Never realized how important that 60% randori was for them, because they, as Olympic athletes, you know, and people that were preparing for World Olympic Championships and things like that, European Games, they were always under pressure. And so I used to take the pressure off, and now I've done the same. And I've done the same in the latter part of my life. You know, I'm over 60, still able to randori. And some of the techniques that are coming out now, I'd forgotten I could do. So glad I can still do them. And, you know, I'm having a great time doing it. All the way through my competition career, it was all about me and what I could get out of it. When I went to randori, it was very selfishly more about me than my opponent. You know, I got what I wanted and what I needed out of the randori. I never realized about the mutual benefits. And when you consider that a very high percentage, probably 80% of everybody that practices judo, and it's probably more than that anyway, practices it for a different reason. And they practice it for mutual benefit. And what they can get out of it, what they can give to each other, and what they can take from each other. And I think that that's really important. And I've realized that certainly now that I'm not competing, and I never will compete again, and you know, for the future as well. The great thing is that even past 60 years of age, I'm still learning from this terrific, amazing sport.